¿Qué pasa, mi gente? Welcome to another video. Today we're going to be talking about how to tell better stories so that way you can make more content without using a script. My name is Pedro. I literally own two estimated businesses right now, and I have 50 million views to my name, on top of 100 appointments set, and a Grammy. And I just want to basically teach you guys about scripts and why you shouldn't be using them, and some things that you could be using on a consistent basis in order to make more content on a consistent basis. I said consistent a lot in that last clip. But anyway, the reason why I'm basically talking about this is because when you think about going into writing a script for a YouTube video or for just content overall, scripts are very limiting. It's like you literally have to read something every single day, and they act as a barrier in order for you to make and create more content overall, which kind of sucks because you're just basically sitting there looking at a screen 24/7. However, here are a couple tools in which that I think that it could definitely help you. But you're probably thinking, so then what I should do? So what should I do then, Pedro? You should basically do this one thing that will literally change your life forever. And that's tell stories with an outline. Because a lot of people will be like, tell more stories on content. Tell more stories about your life, this, that, and the third. And that's cool. But let's say if you just want a bit more structure in the content that you create on a consistent basis, and then what are you going to do? You're basically going to write out a few bullet points in order to figure out how to make more content in a more structured manner, so that way you're providing value consistently on screen and making more content as a result. So but first, before we get into that, we want to make sure we figure out why do we tell stories in the first place. Well, the two main instances in which that we tell stories is because time and time again, back in the olden days, we would tell stories to either teach a lesson to the people, whether it be like a teacher or a grand poobah or like a wizard of some sort would tell us a story, and then we learn a literally fragment of education from that story in order to apply into our lives. And the second part was because of education, right? It's like, what did they do when they didn't have TV? What did they do when they didn't have social media? They basically talked about stuff that happened or talked about fictional stuff that didn't happen in order to entertain and pass the time, right? So when it comes to making content, it really depends on what you're trying to do for your video overall. So like when you're trying to use stories, before you even start an outline, when you're trying to use stories, you're either going to use it as a reference or as an example for education for your videos. For example, I literally made a video earlier this year talking about how I did Uber for 100 days and this is what I learned, right? Which is cool. There's nothing wrong with that. However, at the end of the day, I still talked about something that I did and then what did I learn from it overall so I could put it in the YouTube video because I thought it was interesting to share. On top of that, you would also share stories in order to do, as I said before, not fictional, but maybe fictional, depending on how you want to structure it, to entertain the masses, right? Whether it be a YouTube video, a trailer, a movie, it doesn't matter. You know, there's multiple ways in order to go about this, but hopefully the next couple frameworks in the next couple minutes that I provide with you will give you an answer in order to make content faster with the stories that you tell. But before we do that, if you got some value out of the video so far and you're enjoying this, please make sure you like and subscribe because I put videos out like this every single day and you don't want to miss them. Anyway, let's keep going into the video. So here's some immediate ways to make stories more interesting in your videos, to have more depth, a little bit more meat as far as like how to explain and how to provide more value, and overall just to make more videos happen on a consistent basis, right? So the first framework is do cool-ish. I don't want to curse, but you know what I'm talking about. Do cool-ish and then talk about it. Like, it's very simple. Like, it's like, if you're going to do something, you might as well go and do your God-given right to use your vessel to go out here and do some really cool stuff. Like, make $10,000 in a month. It's like, here how I made $10,000. And then you go about the story. More so in like a first person, a POV sort of situation. There's really nothing simpler than that, to be quite honest with you. You're literally the only person that went through that. So obviously you'd be the only person that has the most amount of information and detail provided for that specific story. So then why not use that to your own advantage, right? The second structure is a storytelling structure that I got from Casey Neistat, who got from movies overall. And you can literally see this over Save the Cat in every single reiteration of Save the Cat, for example. Like this one is Save the Cat writes for TV. But there are other versions of Save the Cat if you want to check out more storytelling frameworks like the one that I'm about to tell you for specific mediums like documentaries, movies, et cetera, for plays, musicals. It really doesn't matter. Literally, they have a whole series called Save the Cat. But the foundation of it all is essentially a setup, a problem, and then a resolution. Essentially, what happens at the beginning to give us context, right? As far as that's literally what a setup is give us context. Like, who's the person? Where do they live? How old are they? Who are they married to? Who's their brother? Who's their cousin? Who's their sister? Like, et cetera, in order to make the story flow naturally into developing a problem, which to then resolve towards the end of the film or the show or whatever it is that you're trying to tell, right? And then the last one is kind of, I want to coin this to myself and my own ideologies. It's DRL. It's essentially drop, rewind, lesson. So it's those instances. Have you ever watched a show and it basically starts off with some dude that looks like battered and he has cuts all over his face. He's covered in dirt and this, that, and the third. And it's just like, it basically starts out the show, the movie, the documentary is like, how did I get here? And then it just goes into a flashback immediately. Right? So that's essentially what drop, rewind, and lesson is all about, right? Is basically dropping you in the middle of the whole problem of everything that's happening currently, and then giving you context as you go along the way. A really great way of doing this is by Mr. Beast, for example, on his YouTube videos. He basically like, this is what's going to happen, but stay until the end of the video because the last thing is crazy. And then all of a sudden he gives a little flashback or a little glimpse as to what that's going to be like, right? And usually he'll do this in segments towards an end goal overall to take you along the end of the video. However, you could see this happen with movies, with TV shows, with documentaries, with YouTube videos overall, is that they literally drop you into a place with no context whatsoever. There's no setup. And then everything else is the context that we get over time. This is like literally 30 minutes into the video, literally the third season into the show. And then we figure out that this long-lost brother was the murderer. Does that make sense? It happens all the time, and it's actually really, really interesting. So once you have those storytelling frameworks so that way you can make more content, here's how I like to structure my outline when I'm basically making these types of videos or any types of videos that I'm making for any of my clients in my SMMA, right? So first of all, I want to make sure that in my outline I have the title of the video, right? Because that's literally the reference for everything. It's like, how am I going to make this video happen? Okay, now I have the title, so then I can use that as a point of reference, right? So then from there, after that, I usually have 3 to 5 really big points that I really want to talk about depending on the storytelling structure that I currently have. For these talking head videos, I usually do POV, like do cool stuff and then talk about it. It's like literally I'm talking from the frame of, I literally have 2 SMMAs, I have results, and I want to teach you guys all the stuff that I learned based off of the results that I've developed. And then ongoing within this channel and also my other channel, which is my business's channel, then you can check out those videos on more technical videos describing how to basically go from 0 to 10K and whatsoever. But then that's usually my structure. So like I said at the beginning, is a title and 3 to 5 points of the stuff that I want to talk about in a storytelling framework of one of the 3 that I literally told you about. And then go from there with enough detail so that way it provides enough value to the person who's watching. So that way we make sure that average view duration is high and there's enough engagement happening on the back end. So, and you also want to end with like a good conclusion of everything. But that's basically how I structure videos and storytelling without a script so I can make more videos on a consistent basis and faster than most people that I know. But if you got value out of the video, make sure to like and subscribe and turn your bell notifications on because I put videos out like this every single day and you don't want to miss them. On top of that, if you want a bit more help as far as figuring out your personal brand and how to basically show up on camera and be the entrepreneur that you were destined to be, then you can click the first link in the description so we can basically book a call and then we can talk about how I can help you. Otherwise, I will see you in the next one. Peace.